Welcome back, everyone. Today we are talking about your why. This is going to be the key and the start to all of the fundamentals that you're going to need to build your foundation. So today we're going to be going over how we actually do that and where the heck we got this process. So it makes a little bit more sense to you, because a lot of people talk about why. There's books. Simon Sinek is one of the leaders in talking about why and the importance of why. But something I found before I bought this work and this curriculum is that there's not a lot of curriculums or ways that people teach you how to come to this information. So you can find a lot of information about why it's important. But today we're going to actually dive in and dig into how to create your why, how to find it, and how to understand it. So we're going to be diving in there. To start, I'm going to just explain where it comes from. So I'm going to share my screen. You have this worksheet with you in your module. Is that clear where I'm sharing, Taylor?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is our famous tree. You'll hear me reference, go back to the tree, go back to the teaching. So this is your core belief systems. And within your core belief systems and all the experiences in your life lies right in the center of what I like to say, your why or your high level purpose. So we have the tree, and the way that we explain this tree is this is kind of your life, or a lot of people say your like brain systems, your belief systems. So we can look at it. A lot of coaches, a lot of therapists, different modalities, they talk a lot about the fruit. And so what happens is we talk all about the fruit. Mom did this, dad did that. I love my business. I love it to make this specific impact, but we really never talk about how that fruit gets there. So I want you to think about, if you were to plant a tree, you would probably want to know what tree you're planting, right? If you want apples, you're going to plant an apple tree. But in our lives, we never really stop to think about where we're driving from, the tree that we're driving from, or the root system, as we call it, that you're driving from. And a lot of coaches talk about getting to the core root of things, but we really never talk about how or where that core root system comes from. So today I'm going to explain that. So we have this tree that has two separate core root systems. One is your foundational belief. That's come from the time you were born. We all have this foundational belief, where all the good fruit comes in our life. Then we have our limiting belief and our limited belief system. And that's where all the things, I won't call it bad fruit, but the things that don't serve us, the things we don't really enjoy, or our pain comes from in life. And right in the center of that is where that why or that purpose lies. So to understand your why, we have to first understand these two root systems that everything else is created from. Then we're not going to do this in this program or in these modules, but later down the road, we might be doing retreats and things like that, where you will get to understand these belief systems at a deeper level. And you can always book sessions to understand privately what these are. But today we're going to be focusing on that why. So to get that information, you now have this other worksheet. So I'm going to ask you to go to your other worksheet, and we're going to start to outline what those high level belief systems are. And they come from a high points in life, foundational belief, and a low points in life, limiting belief. So today we're going to outline really high level what those two belief systems sound like, so we can boil those down and understand what your why is. So today Taylor is going to be our example for that. He's agreed to so graciously share all of his junk with you guys and what matters most to him. So go ahead and download that other sheet, and we're going to be diving into this work. And the facilitation questions that I asked Taylor are also in your module. They're outlined there, as well as some tips. But go ahead and take some time to listen to this entire video so you can really understand how this sounds and how we got to Taylor's answers. So Taylor, we're going to just go through that worksheet. So the first question is, what is your high point? So would you mind sharing what your high point is today?
Yeah, my high point is when I married my wife, Kaylee.
Okay. And you notice how Taylor's very short with his story, because the important part of this is not actually the story. We don't need a whole lot of story because we're really trying to focus on the why. So pick the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't overthink this. All roads lead to the same place. But just like Taylor did, you're going to just put down what your high point was. Doesn't have to be a lot of story, but just what was that moment in time is what we're looking for. It's a very specific moment in time, and we don't want two or three, we just want one. So just pick the first one that comes to your mind. So Taylor, the next question on your worksheet is, why is that your high point?
Yeah, so I hadn't had a lot of great examples of strong relationships in my life. And I wasn't sure if I had the skills, the capacity, the ability to have a strong relationship. It was something I wanted, but based on the examples that I'd had and the experiences largely that I'd had in my family, I wasn't sure if that was something that was going to be in the cards for me. So when I met my wife and we dated, and it was so clearly the person that I was meant to be with. That was it was I could finally see that that narrative had changed, and I was someone who one, deserved that type of relationship, but two, had the emotional skills to give back to that relationship and allow it to thrive.
Okay, beautiful. So you can hear some of those key words, some of those key elements in Taylor's why. He was capable. He got to really believe in relationship again. He deserved a healthy relationship. And another question that you can ask yourself is, what did you make that mean about you? What did you make that experience, that moment in time, mean about you? So Taylor, what did you make that experience mean about you?
Yeah, for me, it was again, it meant that I had the ability, and I was deserving of a relationship that was selfless and was supportive. And again, that was something that I wasn't sure if I was going to have or what that would look like. And so for me, that was a really strong indicator that, again, that was a big narrative shift for me.
Okay, beautiful. So take some time, everyone, to write that down, get really clear on that why. You want it concise, you want it clear, and then we'll go ahead and move on to low points. So Taylor, what was your low point in life?
My low point was when my grandfather passed away.
Okay. And why was that your low point?
That had been my relationship. Grandfather was extremely impactful in my life. He and I spent pretty much every day together my entire life until I, moved away from home, and then even still, we were very close. So when he left or when he passed away, that was a very meaningful relationship that was gone from my life and left a really big hole. And yeah, it was a big, a big hit, and a hole that was, impossible to fill in.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And I'm sorry for your loss. It's super challenging. And we all have these really hard circumstances. So it's not about trying to put yourself in a sad place or, go back into the pain of something. But we're really trying to understand the absence of what matters most to you is what's going to create that why and that deeper pain. So thank you for sharing, Taylor. Last question to help you understand what that is what did you make that experience mean about you?
That experience left me wondering if I would be able um, to replicate that relationship or experience impactful and strong bonds and relationships like that again in my life. I wasn't sure if I had the know-how or the maturity or the skills to have a relationship like that again. Um, and so, yeah, it just left me unsure of how I would get something so meaningful again in my life.
Okay, and what was so meaningful about that relationship to you? Like, can you give a little bit of context of why that relationship was so different from some of the other relationships you've had?
Yeah, it was there was a supportive aspect, for me. There That was a place, that was a relationship, and then physically a place where I could always go and know that I was loved and supported. There was a lot of trust there, and there was a mentorship quality and component that I really respected and trusted again. So yeah, that's kind of you know the the place that relationship held for me.
Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually take those two whys. So not the high point or low point, but we're gonna take your two why statements and we're gonna put them together. And your low point is the underbelly of what matters most to you, but it also contributes to that why very clearly. So Taylor, what would you say if you put those two experiences together, and those whys, what matters most to you? This is your high level why.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I've talked about, in previous modules, the relationship piece is critical for me, and I'm sure anyone can hear that that's a common thread. And then there's a supportive component as well, which I just touched on with my grandfather, and really, desiring to both receive and give that support. So my common thread is to build impactful relationships so that people can have the support that they need.
So you can kind of see how, and Taylor's is very clear, and you've probably heard it if you've listened to the other videos all the way through. His common thread of, even when we were sharing and introducing ourselves, is always relationship. And he really does care about the coach athlete relationship because it's in alignment with what matters most. So you want to make sure that your high and your low whys are reflected here, and you can really extrapolate that common thread and get it in one clear statement. So if you need help with this, we're going to be going over this in our time together in our groups. So make sure that you bring your questions to the Q&A portion of that. And if you want one-on-one help, you can always schedule a session. There's a link in this module. This is a really important part of this program. And so you want to make sure to really spend the time and get this as clear as you can. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, you're going to continue to be altering this and adjusting this. So, you just want to be really connected to it, and you want to be able to see it through your life. So there's some engagement and reflection questions in this module. Make sure you take some time to take this statement with you and just let it be a lens through the next couple of days or a week to reflect if you got it right, so you can continue to adjust it. So thank you, Taylor, for being our test subject and sharing your story. It's an incredible story, and I'm so grateful to be able to build relationship and do this with you because it's really close to what matters most to me as well. So if you guys have any questions, please let us know. But otherwise, we'll see you in the next module, which is vision.